Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Creator Toolbox. I have suddenly closed my script to say what the introduction is, so I'm doing this off the top of my mind. Hopefully, I remember, considering how many times we've done this at this point. Welcome to Creator Toolbox. This is a show that's put on by the ServiceNow Developer Program from ServiceNow Community to bring product managers, engineers to you to demo and show off a lot of the features that we have in our release. We're in the middle of our Xanadu release, so we usually have this little icon somewhere in the video to show that we're in the Xanadu content season. And if you want to know all the other kind of things we're showing off this season, go to devlink.sn/Xanadu and you'll be able to see all the different blogs, podcasts, videos, live streams that we have planned for you this 3-month span, basically, all the way from the beginning of Xanadu release all the way to store release 2. So we have a lot of stuff lined up for you. Hopefully you can check those things out. This show is all about showing you what's capable inside ServiceNow and basically equipping your toolbox. That's why we call it Creator Toolbox. Introductions are in order. So as a reminder, in case you didn't know, we just did a Creator Toolbox yesterday too. So my name is Earl Duque. I'm a senior developer advocate here at ServiceNow. I've been here for 3 years, but before that, I was a ServiceNow customer engineer for like 4 years before that. So been in the ecosystem since about 2017, 2018. And then I'm going to pass the introductions off over to Jason.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jason Lefever. I am a manager on the workflow automation product management team, primarily responsible for our Playbook capabilities. I've been with ServiceNow for about 3 years and in the low-code automation technology area for probably about 10 years now.
Nice.
And I'll pass it to Adam.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Golob. I've been with ServiceNow for about 4 years now. I've been on a bunch of different teams here at ServiceNow, but most recently I've been with the workflow automation product team. I'm super excited. We're going to be talking to you about Playbooks today. Before ServiceNow, I was a student at San Jose State University, getting a degree in computer science in the Bay Area.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so Adam already mentioned it, but we're talking about Playbook Generation today. So I believe we're going to have a little bit of an overview, and then we're going to jump into actually seeing it in action. Jason, did you want to kick it off?
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who's joining us today that has never heard about Playbooks before, I'm going to just ground us in what the capability is, when and how to use them, and then we'll show off some of our recent generative AI innovations. So I want all of you to start thinking about Playbooks whenever you think about business processes on the ServiceNow platform. So Playbooks are our way to build and sequence any type of process. Before we jump into the details, just want to flash up Safe Harbor. I'm going to be showing you a couple of forward-looking things, some exciting things on the roadmap here. So just bear in mind that we're doing that. And then let's talk big picture about workflow automation at ServiceNow. So we have a number of different capabilities that all have been unified under this umbrella of workflow automation. So whether it's a playbook or flows, subflows, actions, decisions, our flow engine capability, we also own our legacy workflow solutions. But within this landscape, these capabilities all work together to help anyone to automate workflow. So let's talk about Playbooks specifically in that space. So on the authoring side, when I'm defining a business process, I want to provide an intuitive, delightful experience for anyone to build and visualize and manage those end-to-end workflows that support enterprise outcomes. On the runtime side, we want a beautiful, intuitive runtime experience for any of our personas, whether it's an agent, a fulfiller, a requester, an employee, to engage with and understand the progression through a sequence of steps to achieve that outcome. And that's what Playbook Experience is all about. Now let's talk a little bit about when and why and how we use playbooks. So anytime that you have a sequenced, configurable, multi-step process that looks to achieve a certain outcome, I would ask the question, why not use a playbook? We support multiple channels. We can embed playbooks within a workspace. We support mobile devices. We support portal playbooks. You can build out custom UI builder pages. And also you can surface things like wizards to guide users through a simple sequence of steps to achieve an outcome. We use the best of workflow automation capabilities within Playbooks. And so any subflows or actions that you already have, if you're familiar with Flow Designer, you can leverage those as Playbook steps to power your end-to-end workflow. So this is what our authoring experience looks like. We've got a Kanban style board on the left. This is a very intuitive view for seeing the sequence of steps that will take place in a playbook to understand the major stages and activities or process steps. On the right side, you've got our diagram, and this is a feature that we introduced in Vancouver. Really shows you more complex workflows where you have stages or activities running in parallel. We support decision branching, and so you can make decisions within your playbook and then route to different paths depending on what's happening in runtime. We've got a couple of these configuration options that are available, and then let's look at the runtime experience. So in a workspace, all of the things that you see lighting up on the screen here are playbook components. So these are things that help an agent to understand, where am I in my business process? What work has been completed? What work is in progress right now? What steps do I need to complete, and what's yet to come? Really guiding a user so that it's easy to repeatably process cases, applications, requests, and also when you have around the clock support. So you have teams changing assignments. It's easy for the next person who has to complete work to pick up the work and continue moving forward. I mentioned before, mobile. So if you have users that need to be completing work on the go, you can present playbooks to them so that they can respond to work orders in the field or incidents on site. We also recently introduced playbooks in Portal in our Washington release. So now you can bring into the fold customers, requesters, employees if you're presenting playbooks via Employee Center. So now someone can initiate a playbook and also see the progression through a request or an application, and really get a sense for where things are going so that they can predictably understand when they'll achieve their desired outcome. So I just really wanted to provide just that layer of foundation so that we can all understand that playbooks equate to business process on the ServiceNow platform. We have a couple of QR codes that we want to flash up here so that as you start on your playbook journey, you can take a look at some of the best practice posts. We've got a bunch of videos in our Workflow Academy that are available, so feel free to grab that QR code. And then we also have a Workflow Automation Center of Excellence where we talk about all things workflow automation, not just playbooks. So this is a great resource to understand the landscape of workflow automation in further detail and really dive in on specific topics around different workflow automation capabilities. So what I want to do next is tee up Adam. So Adam is one of the product managers on our playbook team. We've got a worldwide group of folks, product managers, engineers, designers that are all working to deliver the best of the best in workflow automation innovation. And one of those things, as Earl mentioned at the beginning, is we want to talk about Playbook Generation via Now Assist. And so Adam's going to take it away and show us some of the cool things we've been working on.
I'll make sure those links are in the description too, so people don't need to do QR code scanning and stuff.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Cool. So thanks, Jason. So yeah, I'm gonna continue the conversation. I'm going to talk a little bit about playbooks, just a little bit more, give a little bit more overview in the actual product, and then we'll get into some of the exciting stuff with Playbook Generation. So I always like to start the conversation whenever I'm doing a demo by kind of orienting folks with how to access our automation tools. So for folks that are familiar and that have a lot of expertise building workflow automation on the platform, we have a bunch of different automation builders. Jason flashed up a really nice slide that showed all the different workflow experiences that we have. We have Flow Designer, we have Decision Builder, we have the Approval Engine, and then we also have Playbooks. everything works hand in hand together. So if you have a lot of experience building automation on the platform prior to our Washington DC release, you're probably very familiar with Flow Designer, possibly even Legacy Workflow Editor, but you would access that going through the filter navigator and typing in Flow Designer, or typing in Decision Builder, or typing in Process Automation Designer. New in Washington, for those folks that aren't that haven't seen any of the features in the Washington release or beyond, we created something called Workflow Studio. Workflow Studio serves as kind of like the unified experience, the unified studio for everything workflow automation. So if I open up Workflow Studio here, you'll see it's a studio environment specifically for everything workflow automation.
Yeah, Adam, can you do me a favor too and zoom in just a little bit?
Yeah. Is this a little bit better?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. So previously we had isolated builders. Playbooks were created and managed in Process Automation Designer. Flows, subflows, and actions were created and managed in Flow Designer, and decision tables in Decision Builder. Like I was saying though, all of these workflow assets were meant to be used in conjunction. Everything is a building block, and everything works on top of each other to form that large workflow that you're trying to orchestrate, or any piece of automation that you're trying to build. We didn't change the way you author flows. We didn't change the way you author playbooks. So if you were to still search up Flow Designer, it's still going to navigate you to Workflow Studio. If you were to search up Process Automation Designer, it's still going to navigate you to Workflow Studio. And if you author or edit a playbook or flow, it's just going to open up the existing Flow Designer experience, but it's embedded in Workflow Studio. If you were to open up a playbook, it's going to open the normal process authoring experience that we had in Process Automation Designer, but in Workflow Studio. You're going to get all the added benefits of being able to create all of your workflow assets in that unified experience, and you can easily jump from asset to asset. It's a really nice experience, and you have everything kind of bridged together in a single experience. So let's talk about playbooks and Playbook Generation. So I want to do just a little bit more overview and kind of explain the details of playbooks before I get into the specifics with Gen AI. But like I was mentioning, everything is a building block. Decision tables are great for isolating your decision logic. A perfect example that I always give whenever I'm explaining decision tables is if you're building an automation that includes like tax rates. Tax rates change on a yearly basis. This is a perfect use case for when you might want to isolate your decision logic that changes on a frequent basis from your automation. Decision tables gives you a really nice no-code experience for defining different rows and columns and specific values based on whatever conditions there might be. It's a really nice experience to give your business users who are in charge of owning decision logic. You can update and have specific change management for your decision tables without updating your automation, without having to go in and update your flow, your subflow, or your action every single time you need to update that decision logic. Actions are another utility in automation. Actions are an alternative to script. Think about update record, create record, any small thing that you might do in a line of in script in a line of code. Let's say, for example, if you're writing like a script include or some sort of business rule, and you write some line of script, that's great. You can do that, but you're going to have to do that and copy that code in every single place you might want to implement that functionality. Actions are great because it gives you that low-code alternative. It's a reusable piece of automation. In the world of workflow, we think of that as kind of like the lowest building block. If you were to imagine all these workflow pieces as Lego blocks, that's kind of your smallest utility Lego block that you'll be using in building your larger pieces of automation. Subflows and flows are just sequences of different actions. In a subflow or flow, you're sequencing together different actions that you have built, different Lego blocks with different flow logic, like if conditions, loop conditions. It's different tools that allow you to sequence those actions in your desired way. The difference between flows and subflows are flows have a bunch of different out-of-the-box triggers. So you can have a scheduled flow, you can have a triggered flow, you can have a flow that goes based off of an SLA, you can have an API-based flow, you can have a simple record created or record updated flow. There's a bunch of out-of-the-box triggers that we have. Subflows are meant to be used as kind of reusable pieces of sequenced actions. The difference between a flow and a subflow is a flow is triggered by some sort of condition, or like I was mentioning, like an SLA, any of those out-of-the-box triggers. A subflow is triggered either by another flow, or it's triggered by an API, by a script. You're calling the subflow via a script. The subflow has a set of inputs, and then it provides outputs. So let's say, for example, your subflow could take in an incident record, maybe the user, and whatever other data you want to pass in, and then it'll execute those sequence actions you have, and then return a set of outputs. So it's also a utility. And then we have playbooks, which is all the great stuff that Jason was just talking to you about. Playbooks are for that larger end-to-end workflow, that larger piece of automation that you're trying to orchestrate. So if you think of like incident response management or employee onboarding, or in the world of procurement, creating a purchase request, creating a purchase requisition, those are perfect use cases for a playbook because it's a large workflow that you sequence together multiple pieces of automation, and there's multiple actors. The cool thing with playbooks is there's also the Playbook Experience, which is what Jason was describing, the end user experience. The Playbook Experience is a great alternative for users interacting with the platform through, let's say, like lists and forms, or if they're interacting through Service Portal or Workspace. A lot of this is the developer community. A lot of you guys are familiar with our platform lists and forms and all of our different UIs that we have. There's so many different ways to interact with the platform, and there's so much good functionality. Playbooks provides your users, the Playbook Experience provides your users with an alternative UI to step through your desired workflow in a repeatable, manageable, sequenced fashion. That's kind of the beauty of playbooks. If you want to orchestrate a workflow, you can create that very specific experience, the desired experience that you want for your users to step through however you'd like. So let's get into the demo. So I want to show an example of a playbook here just in the product before I get into some of the Gen AI stuff. But this is an example of an incident response management playbook. So in the world of playbooks, we have a trigger. A trigger is what starts the playbook. So in this example, for this example playbook that we have, this is going to be triggered whenever we have an incident record that's created that has a short description that starts with playbook. In theory, we would probably have a more specific playbook. Like, let's say, for example, we want this to be triggered whenever there's a new active playbook that's created. But for this example, we're using this as a demo. These bigger boxes that you have here, well, before getting into this, Jason showed two screens. We have the diagrammatic view, and then we also have the board view. These are two different views to view the same workflow. Board view gives you that nice Kanban task-oriented view of your workflow, and then diagram gives you that really nice virtual whiteboarding diagrammatic view of the same workflow. It gives you really nice visualizations of what activities should happen in parallel, what steps should happen in parallel, versus what should happen sequentially. So these larger boxes that we have here on the screen are what we call stages. Stages are larger categories of steps that should happen in your workflow. They're larger categories that allow you to group together specific common steps. So in this example, you can see we have an identification stage. During this stage, we have a few different activities that need to take place. We call these boxes activities. These are the individual steps in this workflow. We have a logging stage with a set of activities, and then a resolution stage, and then finally we have a closure stage. So in the beginning, I was explaining that all of our workflow assets build on top of each other. We have Decision Builder, we have all the flow automation pieces with subflows, and actions, and then we have playbooks. So the background of that, as I was explaining, each one of these steps in your playbook is powered by a flow, subflow, or action. So if I click on this activity here, it's going to open the side panel configuration for it. I can see there's an automation tab, and then I can see there's a UI layout tab. So every activity, like I was saying, is powered by an automation, and that automation is simply a flow, subflow, or action. If I click on the automation tab, I can see the referenced automation here, and I have this button here that allows me to jump out and see the actual flow that's powering this activity. So that's what I was saying. The beauty of Workflow Studio allows you to kind of really use all of these utilities in a single experience. And there's also a UI layout. The UI layout is what's shown to the end user when they're stepping through this workflow. So there's like I was mentioning, Playbook Experience is a really nice piece to playbook authoring that allows your end users to have that alternative UI for them to visualize and step through this workflow. And so that's kind of an overview of playbooks. I want to show the Playbook Experience real quick on the reverse side. So we have this authored playbook. If I were to go and test this workflow and see what the end user experience looks like, I have an incident record that I created here. I put playbook as the short description because remember that was our trigger. I'm going to open it up and we'll see what the end user experience looks like. I just want to show a quick example to kind of complete the story and show what the end-to-end experience looks like. So I'm going to open up the preview experience. And coming back to our playbook before I open it, the first step in our workflow was for the end user, the triaging agent, to go through and confirm the contact details for the incoming incident. So it looks like here in the description, we're asking the user to select the contact type on the record and then save our changes. We can see we're passing in the incident table, and then that record that we want to show is going to be the triggering incident. So you can see here, this is kind of the UI that folks would see, end users would see when they're interacting with their playbook. Jason was saying that we can embed Playbook Experience in any different ServiceNow experience. Playbook Experience is supported in Workspace. It's supported in mobile experiences. It's supported in service portal experiences. That's kind of the power of playbooks. You can put this component anywhere on the platform and give your end users the alternative UI to go through and really step through this sequenced workflow. In this preview experience, we have a bunch of different toggles. So it allows you to kind of view different formats for the UI component that can be embedded. But just going back to the normal UI. And you can see here as an end user, I can choose whatever the channel type is and then click update. And then the playbook will progress to the next step. So we'll give it a second. There might be a configuration issue here, but in theory, what should happen is the activity should complete, and then the next activity should open up, which is gather more information. So yeah, that's kind of the overview of playbooks. I like doing that just because it kind of sets the context and gives a nice picture of what we're working with. So now I want to talk about some of the Gen AI stuff. So Playbook Generation is a skill, a part of Now Assist for Creator. Now Assist for Creator has a lot of cool features. We have app generation, which I think there was just a session about. We have flow generation, playbook generation, catalog generation, data generation, and I think a lot more soon to potentially come. I'm not sure, but all of our Gen AI features are accessed through Now Assist Admin. So opening up Now Assist Admin, clicking on Now Assist features. This instance doesn't have all the Now Assist for Creator features installed. This is a development instance. We flashed the safe harbor slide up earlier in the slide. So fair warning, we're going to be talking about some stuff that's coming up in our November release. We have a lot of really exciting features, but we wanted to get in front of the developer community to show off what we're working on. So speaking specifically about playbooks, I'm going to click on View Details here to open up the Playbook skill family. And you can see we have 3 skills that we're shipping out of the box in our November release. In our August release, which went live on August 1st, just this past month, we have 2 features. We have Playbook Generation and then Playbook Recommendations. I'll talk a little bit about those 2 features first, and then we'll talk about this one, Playbook Generation with images. A little spoiler alert for folks that saw any of the keynotes at Knowledge 2024 this past year. A lot of our keynotes contained really exciting demos about Playbook Generation from images. Super exciting feature, lots of power there. We'll do a live demo of the working product in a little. So jumping into the authoring experience, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to impersonate a user that has the NowAssist.creator role. So if you're going live with any of these NowAssist for creator skills and these use cases, the first step is going to be for you to turn on the skill through NowAssist admin. Then it's going to be for you to grant your desired user access to the now.assist creator role. Once you provide them that role, then they'll have access to all the GenAI, the specific features that you've activated in NowAssist admin. So I'm going to impersonate Abel, and then I'm going to refresh my Workflow Studio experience. So Playbook Generation, similar to Flow Generation, all starts within Workflow Studio. Workflow Studio, like I was mentioning, is our authoring experience for workflow automation. So I'm going to click on the new drop down here. I also have the ability, if I want to come up here and click on the plus button, I can create a new playbook from up there. But for this example, I'm going to click new here, click on playbook, and then I'll be presented with my creation screen. So I have 2 options here. Because I have the now.assist.creator role, I see this build with NowAssist tab, and I see all of this fun GenAI stuff. If I didn't have this role, I wouldn't have the tabbed experience. I would just see this option to create my playbook from scratch. It's the standard playbook creation experience. I'll provide a name, and then I'll jump into the authoring experience to start sequencing out my automation, to start sequencing out my workflow. Because I have NowAssist for Creator installed, though, I have this build with NowAssist tab. So I can start with giving a playbook name, and then provide my NowAssist input. My input could be either an image or it could be text. For this example, first I'm going to show our simple playbook generation from natural language, and then I'll come back and show the image. In the product, we have a few different examples too. We have a few different styles of examples. We always tell folks, if you're experimenting, experiment away, try different prompting styles, see what works, what yields better results. We support up to 2,000 characters in the prompt field. Some people like to take like a summary of an SOP document and then use that as your input. It's really up to you. Some people like to put like a checklist of specific steps that they want to see in each stage. We always tell people with any GenAI feature, try to experiment around, see what works, and share the feedback. We always want to hear the feedback. So for this example, I'm going to use the product development. So I'll give it a name, product development demo, and then I'll click generate playbook preview here. So there's a few things that's happening behind the scenes. The first thing that's happening is we're taking the text requirements, the natural language description of the workflow, and then we're asking our internal Now LLM to generate a sequence of steps that should happen for that workflow. And then after that takes place, it moved kind of quickly, but I don't know if you caught it. We went through for each one of these steps in this workflow, we went through and took the label of this step and the description of this step, and then matched it with the best corresponding automation, the activity definition that existed on this environment. based on what that activity was supposed to represent. So you can see here in this example, the activity 1.2 was to refine the product concept, review and refine product concept based on feedback and research, and it matched it to our checklist task activity. And subsequently, you can see that it created the conceptualization and research stage, design and engineering, marketing, testing and iteration, manufacturing and launch, and then finally our post-launch monitoring stage. So it did a pretty nice job creating our first stab, our first draft at what this workflow should look like. We have this really nice preview experience. So you can see here, we're still in the preview. We're not yet in the authoring experience. If I want to come in here and if I want to modify any of my requirements, I can come in here and either add specific details, remove specific details, and then I can regenerate the workflow and ask Now Assist to help update the playbook based on my updated requirements. If I'm happy and if I'm content with the workflow, I can jump in and click on Save and Edit Playbook, and then it'll actually save and open the playbook, and it'll open the authoring experience for me to start authoring the workflow. I can go in and configure any of the inputs. Some of these activities that were matched require some additional configurations. Yeah, it gives me a really, really nice start to jump into the authoring experience, to go from requirements to a pretty much mostly configured playbook, where I can kind of go in, wire up a few more things, and then kick off the workflow, activate it, and start testing it, see how it works based on my requirements. So that's our first skill, Playbook Generation. I'm going to go back to the admin experience just so I can kind of highlight the specific skill that I was talking about. So if I come back to Creator, so that's this guy, that's Playbook Generation. The next skill I want to talk about is Playbook Recommendations. So Playbook Recommendations is all around providing users recommendations when they're in the context of authoring an existing playbook. So we have the two skills. We have normal Playbook Generation, which I just demoed, and I have generation from images, which I'll show in a little, which all are around helping users create a playbook from some text requirements or an image, and getting off the ground with a running start. Playbook Recommendations is a feature that helps users when they already have existing playbooks created and they want faster time to develop. They want some in-context recommendations. So to show an example of Playbook Recommendations, I'm going to add a placeholder activity here. So let's say, for example, I'm in this first conceptualization and research stage. I want to create a task. Create a task to do XYZ, some sort of placeholder. If I hover over this placeholder, whenever I'm ready to come back and either actually create the automation that powers this step in the process, or actually hydrate this placeholder with an actual piece of automation, I can hover over it and I see this sparkle icon. If I click on this sparkle icon, hopefully this works, I can see a set of recommendations that exist specifically to my environment. So I can see here any action, flow, subflow, or activity definition that exists on my environment, and I can come in and quickly replace it to continue to author my workflow. The beauty of Playbook Recommendations is it's personalized to your environment. The recommendations are going to be as great as the content that you have on your environment. You probably already have a lot of really good data. You probably already have a lot of good flows, actions, and subflows created that can be used here as a utility. So you're going to see all that good stuff here. If you don't see the activity that you like, you can click on this button to open up the full activity picker. And you can see the normal activity picker that we're used to. You can see every single flow, action, subflow, or activity that exists on this environment. Let's say if it still doesn't exist, you can click on the Create New Automation button, and it'll jump out into another Workflow Studio tab, where you can start to use flow generation if you have flow generation enabled to create your flow from natural language. I won't get into flow generation because I think there is another topic in the Creator Toolbox series where we're going to talk about flow generation, but we'll save that for another session. So Playbook recommendations is really great for providing you contextual inline recommendations for activities that you might want to replace your placeholders with. The next feature that I want to talk about is coming back to the generation features. So it's Playbook generation from images. So it's this final feature that we have. So this one's super exciting. We showed it across multiple main stage demos at Knowledge. This feature is all about enabling users to create a playbook from an image. So we know process authors, we know process engineers, process owners, business analysts, they're really comfortable with their virtual whiteboarding tools, using either Miro, using Lucid, or just in Office on a whiteboard, drawing out what that workflow should look like. We're enabling all those use cases to be brought into Playbooks, into Workflow Studio, into our Now platform. So I'm going to show a quick demo. In our MVP release coming in November, we're going to support a few different image types. I'm going to click on the Attach File button. I'm going to go to Desktop, and then let's choose this recruitment example here. So in this example here, you can see I have a few different stages created. I have a few different steps in this stage, but I have that final stage that I don't have any content with. I want to use this example because I'm going to add some additional text here. So with Playbook generation from images, you don't necessarily need to attach both an image and text. You can, if you want, you can just attach an image and generate your workflow, or you can attach an image like I'm going to do in this example and provide some supplemental text. So let me open up the text that I want to add. I have a little text file. I'm just going to copy this real quick and then add it here. So I say the image explains the recruitment process. The prepare offer lane at the end is empty. Add at least 3 new activities into that last lane. So we're going to give it a name, recruitment demo, and then we're going to click generate playbook. Hopefully this works. Like I said, this is a development instance. It's kind of hot off the press. We're working through looking at all the bugs that we can find to make sure we go through hardening to make sure it's a solid product before we release it. But like I was explaining, the first step that's happening behind the scenes is we're generating the skeleton. Looks like we got the skeleton pretty well. And then we're going through for each one of the placeholder activities and we're replacing it with the best matching activity.
That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see we got the prepare offer. We added the 3 to 4 activities in that new stage. And then once I'm comfortable, I can jump in and start editing the playbook. So that really shows the power. We went from an image to a created workflow in ServiceNow in a matter of seconds. Super cool, super powerful. Yeah.
That's wild. That's cool. That's cool to see.
Yeah, and just to comment on kind of why we did it and why now. We talk to customers, we talk to internal teams at ServiceNow that build out of the box applications, and we want to be responsive to feedback. So generative AI being a really emerging and hot topic right now, one of the things that we learned that matches up to our generative AI strategy is it often takes a long time to define the upfront process. And so it can take up to months to coordinate with stakeholders and process owners and such to really get that foundational definition of what the process should be. So this really accelerates definition of the end-to-end process using generative AI. And so with some, like you saw, an image, if we're whiteboarding, a description, whether we have an existing process that we want to automate or if we just want to describe it on the fly, really gives you that warm start to process automation by generating these playbooks. So really, this is all about enabling productivity, kind of accelerating time to value for automating on the Now platform. So really love the feedback that we've gotten so far and look forward to continued engagement so that we can continue to evolve these capabilities.
This is the kind of stuff that I would have loved when I was a customer developer, because it's one of the things that I remember and I taught my new developers or my student developers and stuff, the easiest way to get your work approved and or get your work bought into by stakeholders is to make it obvious what the work is doing. And I love that we're paused on this screen where it shows the diagram view of the playbook, because I remember when I was working at one of my first customers that I couldn't get people to figure out what we were doing behind the scenes until I literally took the old legacy workflow editor view. I took that and I printed it on an 11 by 17 piece of paper, the old school workflow. And then I literally drew colored boxes around a set of activities and said what that stage was. And then I did it for each part of it, which is literally what it looks like, what we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
And that visualization was all I needed to get our stakeholders to be bought into the automations that were happening behind the scenes. Because the time we were making that workflow, they had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. So they didn't actually see what their requests, they didn't see the middle process of planning to execution. And that diagram is what got them sold into like supporting us and putting processes over to our team. And that it's so nice to see like that diagram view, just because that just reminds me of stuff that I wish I could have had back in the day when we were drawing in highlighter boxes around things, because the visualization really does help a lot of people, whether you're technical or not. People understand processes in different ways. So it's really cool to see.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
Also, I want to give a shout out to you, Adam. If people don't realize, Adam just put on a master class of being able to talk over his work as he's demoing it. Before the show started, Adam was like, I'm going to need a lot of commentary and filling in the space. I'm sitting there like, my job is so easy, because Adam has been talking steadily through all the things that he's been demoing to you all. And I've been taking notes. We've already went through an overview, a playbook experience overview, a playbook preview, playbook generation by Now Assist, generation via text, playbook recommendations, playbook generation via images, all in a solid monologue straight through. So that's really good job, Adam. We need to have you on these shows. We need to have both of you on these shows a lot more.
Thank you. I lucked out. Yeah, I was going through it. I was totally waiting for the instance to fail on me, but everything worked through solidly. I was very happy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. I think we went into why it's useful, a little bit of a spiel. Is there any more do you want to show off in the demo, or what was next?
Yeah, I think that about wraps it. The only thing I want to say is I'm really excited for folks to start using this. I really encourage you guys to go through, test all your use cases, try everything. I want to hear all the feedback. Please share any and every feedback as you guys are using the tool, as you're using any of our Gen AI features. If there's certain things that you guys want to see, that you guys see are that you guys think is missing, please feel free to reach out on any forum, whether it's through email, whether it's through Mattermost, or sorry, not an internal tool, whether it's through like LinkedIn, or reach out to Earl and any of the folks on the developer community and come our way. Always happy to have conversations and hear how we can improve our product.
Yeah, 100%. And just a reminder from the beginning, when you think automated business process on the Now platform, think of playbooks. So we support any type of use case, whether it's existing applications, building workflows for incident response, building workflows for case management or supplier lifecycle management, as well as any custom use case that you have. If you're building custom applications, you can trigger playbooks to run that support those end-to-end workflows that are critical to your applications and your business outcomes. So really, sky's the limit. We'd love to hear of any creative use cases that you all are thinking of, dreaming of. We love to connect with customers. We love to have these conversations so that we can help you get the most out of the capabilities. So we're always here to continue the conversation and super excited for what the future holds.
I would add, if there's one action item or one takeaway from this, is if you're not already using playbooks, Your challenge is to think of a use case for you to start adopting playbooks at your organization and come back with questions, feedback, or just hit the ground running and start reaping the benefits of using playbooks.
Very nice. I'll make sure to put links inside of the description. I'll be updating this stream with chapters so that people can click through quickly. Thank you both for being with us today, showing off a lot of cool stuff in Playbook. I need to just clip out middle of this to be a straight up workflow studio walkthrough and overview too, because you added that in there too. So thank you for doing that. Adam already said it. If you have any questions, you can find any of us on social, on the community. We'll have a blog of this episode on the community too, so you can ask questions there. I'll make sure those questions get to the right people. Tune in. Make sure to check in to the content calendar for Xanadu, because we have all the other analysis stuff getting covered too. Either already did or upcoming in the next coming weeks. Otherwise, thank you, everybody. Have a great morning. Have a great evening, depending on where you are. And thanks again. Bye.
Thanks. See you, everybody.